Hi everybody. We're here tonight for the Life's a Hoot cards. I love these owls. They're so cute. I thought what we'd do tonight is first put together all the cards without the owls, and then we can go ahead and color the owls and add them to the cards as we color each one. That way, if you have to get going a little earlier or you get tired of coloring, you could always finish them later. And you'll know how all the pieces assemble first. So we're going to do this one with the two owls first. It's got the purple cardstock. Your envelope should be pretty easy to identify since each, well, these two are the same, but there's 3 different cardstocks out there. So So none of these cards have a ton of pieces on them. The owls really shine, but I love the colors of this paper collection. This is the Life's a Hoot paper collection as well. And although it officially retired last month, it is currently still available. So if you decide you have to have some more of it, you currently can still get it. I'm just not sure how long, basically until they run out. So just getting my scoreboard, and all of these pieces of cardstock are the same size. They're 11 inches by 4 inches. So on each one, on the 11-inch side, we're going to score it 5.5. On this purple one, which is actually called Wisteria, we're going to score on the dark side. So the dark side of the cardstock should be facing you when you put it in your scoreboard. And I didn't trim mine. If yours is still 12 inches, make sure you trim that to 11 inches. Sorry. I'm just trying to see if I did that on all of them or just, well, we'll find out as we go along. It might be just the last sheet I cut. If I know I'm going to cut a full 12-inch sheet, I'll cut it to 11 and the cut 444. But if I'm only cutting one, I'll cut the 4-inch first. And I may have done that and forgotten to go back and trim the other side. All right, so we have this beautiful striped paper. And we're going to put that one on first. And always when we are adding a piece of paper that is the full, well, in this case it's width, could be width or height. In this case it's width of the card, and we're going next to a folded edge. We're going to start by lining up the folded edge and then placing it down towards the cut edge. That way, if it's a little longer or a little shorter, we can trim that cut edge. You can't trim the folded edge. So and that's pretty much perfect. So we're just putting it across the top there. Next we have our glitter paper, and this is also Wisteria, And this is glitter paper, so we are going to add our adhesive to it. And again, we're going to put it right up against the piece of paper we just put on, but we're going to start at the folded edge and work it towards the cut edge. Now mine is overhanging just a slight bit. So I'm going to turn my card over so I can see that edge and trim off that excess. And it's shot somewhere. I don't know where, but I'll find it someday. And next we have our Everyday Smiles. I'm just getting out the stamp set so you can see it. So the flowers and the sentiments I used are all from the same stamp set. So we've got Everyday Smiles, and which is stamped in sapphire, and our small little flower that's stamped in wisteria ink. And this is Glacier colored cardstock, and I used the lighter side. Now, I'm going to turn this around because I'm going to put it on vertical, what is vertically when the card is turned the right way, but I can see better to put it on if I turn the card. And you're going to put it about 1/2 inch from the folded edge. This time it's going from cut edge to cut edge, so it doesn't matter as much which edge you start with, because you can trim either of them. Although if you'd rather trim your solid cardstock instead of your decorative paper, start the opposite there and start at the top and go down, but that's up to you. Hopefully you won't have to trim. I put that on a little crooked, so I am just going to adjust, and I know I put it on crooked because it was crooked against that stripe, the striped paper. Now mine is, again, just a tiny bit long, not even as long as that glitter paper was, so I'm just going to trim that. And that's all we have to do right now, because the only other pieces we're going to put on here are our 2 owls, and we will color those after we finish putting the rest of the cards together. All right, so next in my pile, I try to keep my piles the same as yours, but sometimes I move them around too much, so we'll see, is the single big owl, kind of with his wings spread, sitting on the branch. Just kind of watching out over everybody, I think. So this card has a couple extra pieces. We've got our flowers, and if you bought the stamp set with the thin cuts, along with the thin cuts of the owl shapes, you also got thin cuts of the flower shapes. Be careful when you use them, though, because they are tiny and they like to go missing. Okay, seriously, I didn't use that many tools yet. Okay, so again, my this is Glacier cardstock. It should be 11 inches long. Did I get this one right? I did get this one right. So I'm putting the 11-inch side along the top, and I'm putting the darker side of the cardstock facing me to score. And so I'm scoring at 5.5 inches. Okay, so the first piece we're going to put on is this kind of chevron print in the glacier color. And again, this time it's the full height of the card, but we're starting at the folded edge. So we're going to start by lining up that short edge with the folded edge. Line it down the left edge of the cardstock, and there you go. The next piece we're going to put on is this print that kind of has, obviously it's a small piece so you can't see a lot of it, but they have different colored circles on it, and then some decorative elements that it'll be different for everybody. So I am going to put that in the bottom right hand corner of the card, and I'm going to line up the right edge of the piece and the bottom of the piece with the right edge and bottom of the cardstock. So that's what you've got so far. And next we're going to put on shimmer trim, and this is shimmer trim, not glitter paper, because of the color. I think it's mist. Hold on, let me confirm that. Yeah, this color is called mist. It doesn't come in glitter paper, so I went with the shimmer trim. And I always try to cut the shimmer trim just a little long in your kits because I wouldn't want to short you. So once you get that backing started, we're going to start at the top of the card again. I have my card turned because it's easier for me to see. And we're going to put it right next to that chevron print. Start the short edge at the folded edge of the card. And if you notice, I didn't actually pull off all the backing. I know you can't see it because you're clear. It's clear, but you can kind of maybe get some glimpses in the light. I only started it, and I'm pulling it off a little bit as I work my way down because this stuff is pretty floppy. And you know, I don't want it to stick before I'm ready for it to stick. So I got it all the way to the end. And actually, I'm kind of glad I did that because I cut my piece pretty long. It might have been, I think it was the edge of the roll in this case. So I'm just trimming it at the edge of the card. And now I have this, yeah, I can feel the stick. I have this extra piece for something else. Yours probably isn't that long, but I didn't turn it over, so I didn't get it quite at the edge of the card there. You know, it's the whole length of the card next to that pattern paper. And then you'll notice I put this piece down because if there was any overlap, I wanted the shimmer trim to be on top. And then I didn't have to trim the edge of this. I mean, you could put this piece on next, but it'd have to overhang a little bit, then you would have to trim it off. And I just skipped that step by doing it in the order I did it. However, this piece, there will be some overhang on the side, I'm sure. We're going to align this piece with the top of those dots. And I'm going to start my piece. In this case, it's a shorter piece, so I just pulled the backing off all the way. I'm going to start right there next to the piece of shimmer trim that's already attached. Make sure there's no space in between. Align it with the top of that pattern paper, and you can see it overhangs just a little bit, so that I will trim. Now we're going to get out our foam tape, and we're going to put on our 3 flowers. And just to let you know, the owls are all attached with foam tape as well. When we get to that point. So these are small pieces, so they only need 1 small piece of foam tape each. And if you feel more comfortable waiting to attach these until you attach the owl, that's fine. This piece I have to cut even smaller because that flower is so small. But another thing you can do, if you want to see the lineup better, you can put your owl on here and see, okay, where do I want to put it? And I put it just like about 1/4 of an inch from the top of the card and 1/4 inch from the right edge, the tip of the wing here and the tip of his ears. That's what I'm looking at. So if I rest him here, then I can see where I want my flowers. And I'm going to put this, the biggest one, which is stamped in Lagoon, down here. And I'm going to overlap that shimmer trim a little bit. And then the medium one, which is stamped in Flamingo, goes up here. And I overlap that piece of shimmer trim a little bit. And then the little tiny one, which is stamped in Wisteria, is over on the chevrons, and it's not overlapping the shimmer trim. And none of them are so close to the owl so that if you shift the position when you attach that, it's going to interfere. And that's all you have to do on that one. Try to keep them in the picture for you. It's hard to tell. I move my camera every time, so I'm never quite sure exactly where the right spot is. Okay. Our next card is going to be the other one that's on Glacier cardstock. This time we're going to use the lighter side of it, though. I just think the colors in this paper collection are beautiful. Of course, you know that these are my kind of colors, but when I started to play with them, they really inspired me. Sometimes, I have to say, I admit that sometimes I look at the catalog and I go, oh, I don't know about that. But almost always when I play with them, once you start playing with them, you like them a lot better. Okay, so again, 11-inch by 4-inch cardstock. We're going to score on the lighter side this time, and score at 5.5 inches again. I actually stamped and cut out a bunch more owls for me, and they've been sitting here because I've wanted to put some more cards together, but I just unfortunately have not had time. Okay, sorry, that's the card we're doing this time. Okay, so this one we're going to do a bunch of vertical stripes. So we're going to start with our piece with the colored circles, another piece of the same paper we used on the last card. And this one, we're going to start at the top edge of the card, which is the folded edge, and align it right down to the left, along the left edge of the card. There we go. And this card has both glitter paper and shimmer trim, because I wanted to use both colors. So the wisteria, the purple, is glitter paper, so that needs adhesive. And again, we're going to put it right next to that previous piece of paper. Align the edges, start at the top folded edge of the card, and right down to the bottom. And now we have this fun purple, it kind of looks like little bricks. So I kind of wish the bricks at RIT were all purple. I would have really liked that when I was there. God only knows what they would have called the place then, but all right. So again, we're going to put it right next to the glitter paper. Start at the top folded edge of the card, align the edges, work your way down. And then we're going to put on our shimmer trim. This is the Miss Shimmer Trim again. And we are going to put it on the right edge of the card. So we're going to skip some space. We're going to start at the folded edge. Start, yeah, you're seeing my head. Sorry about that. And then we're lining up the edges of the card and the shimmer trim. And you can see again, I am just pulling off backing as I go down. And I have some overhang again. So I'm going to cut that off. And that's a big enough piece that I'm going to save because sometimes you need just a tiny bit of glitz on a card, and that'll work for that. I just put it back on the backing sheet. All right. So next we have this sentiment that was stamped in wisteria ink on wisteria cardstock. And that was part of the stamp set. So we're going to put it about a ½ an inch from the top of the card with the right edge of the purple cardstock flush with the mist shimmer trim that we just put down. And hopefully get it on straight. And you can see that's actually fairly centered on the card because the spacing on the left is similar to the spacing on the right. And again, we can put our owl down where we want it. And I have him mostly in the solid cardstock area, overlapping those purple bricks a little bit. And then we can put our flowers where we like them. So again, we're going to use foam tape. And I have that small piece of foam tape. I cut off the other flower because it was too big. All right, so our biggest flower is stamped in the wisteria ink. And I put this in the bottom on the circle paper overlapping the shimmer trim a little bit. The next one, I'm going to put the little one on first, and that's with that flamingo ink. And I'm going to put that right under where it says wild, and again overlap that glitter. It's the glitter paper, the wisteria glitter paper. And then I'm going to put my medium flower, which is with the lagoon ink, and put that down and to the left of the pink flower. So you can see that these cards are pretty easy to put together, but with the impact of the beautiful paper and the colored owls, I think they came out pretty well. It's another piece that's extra long for me because it was the end of the roll. So we got some gems in this one, so don't lose those. This is the same owl that we just used. After I made the first 3 cards with all the coloring, I said, well, I really want to see what it looks like making a snowy owl and just coloring it with the gray. So that's where that card came from, the idea. And again, we have a 4x11 or 11 by 4 inch card. Score on the 11-inch side at 5.5. Didn't quite get it in the groove the first time. Oh, and this is grape cardstock, and we put it on the darker side facing us when we scored it. I hadn't used this color before, but I really like it. So we're going to use our grape pattern paper, which is the back of our stripes. It's kind of a marbled looking paper. I'm going to put that piece on first. And we're going to put that in the top left corner. So start at the scored top edge and align the piece with that and the left edge of the card. All right. Now we're going to put the shorter piece of, this is silver shimmer trim. So you got to take the backing off. If one corner doesn't work, try a different one. There we go. And in this case, I'm going to start in the corner here. I'm turning my card upside down. I'm going to align the short edge with the edge of that pattern paper there. So it's the same width. And I'm overhanging a little, so I'm just going to turn this over and trim. And then I'm going to put the longer piece on. Now, in this case, I'm going to go against what I've been saying the whole class about starting at the folded edge. And that's because it's so important for you to line up this bottom edge here. So I actually want to start down here. I want to line up that edge so that it looks like it's a continuous piece. It looks like, you know, it goes all the way across. And again, I'm pulling the backing as I go. And I'm just lining up the edges of the shimmer trim with the folded edge. Now, again, this was the end of my roll, so I have a longer piece than what I needed. Yours probably won't be as long. Now when I cut it at the folded edge, I just want to be careful that I am only cutting the shimmer trim and not the card. And it's pretty, this is so flexible that it's easy to do that. It's kind of easy to bend it aside a little and cut it without, you know, without worrying that you're going to get too close and cut the fold of the card. And now we're going to put it on our strips of Lagoon cardstock. And we're going to use the darker side. And these strips are skinny. So I am going to use my 1/8 inch tape because I know there's no way I'm going to be, even though it's the same width or similar width to my adhesive, I know there's no way I'm going to roll that down there straight. If you can do it, good for you. If you don't have 1/8 inch wide tape, you can also use a little bead of glue. Just make sure when you're applying it, you put it on sparingly because you don't want it to gush out the sides. So just put that on the back, take off the backing, and I'm going to go back to starting at the folded edge, and I'm going to put it about 1/4 inch from the edge of my card, the right edge of my card. Start at the top, work my way down. It's just the tiniest bit longer, so I'll trim that off. And now we're going to put the horizontal piece on. Again, we're going to use the, oh, I did use the lighter side. That's funny. It doesn't matter, I guess. Just use the same side that you just used. Sorry about that, guys. It's not, some of the cardstocks have more of a difference between the light and dark side than others, and these look pretty similar to me, at least under this light. Okay, so I put my tape onto the back of that. And again, this is going from cut edge to cut edge. It doesn't matter which side you start on. I always have an easier time starting on the left. And again, put it on about 1/4 inch from the bottom edge of the card, or the same distance that you put the first one on. And there you go. Solid cardstocks can make quite an impact. You don't always have to have the pattern paper. I mean, we love the patterns with the colors and stuff, but solid stuff looks pretty cool too. Just like solid fabric and quilting. All right, so our little owl is going to go into that space there, but we do have 3 little gems to put on. And you know, when I put on gems onto cards, I always like to add some liquid glue. Give it some extra security. So I'm just going to put a dot right here, kind of right in the corner. And then about 1/2 inch up from that, and about another 1/2 inch up for that to make my 3 dots. These gems are a little or on the bigger side. Sometimes we use the tinier ones, so you just want to leave some more space between the dots of glue. That one really went sliding. And if you're having trouble, you probably should do it anyway. What I like to do is put my thumb on the gem and rub the back of it, and that makes sure that the glue dot that's supposed to be on the gem is really adhered well before I take it off the backing sheet. every once in a while, it's like they didn't press down enough in the manufacturing process, and you'll pick up the gem and there won't be any adhesive behind it because it'll still be stuck to the sheet. And if that happens, you can put the gem back over that adhesive circle and do what I did, was just put my thumb on the gem, rub behind it, and it pushes that adhesive back onto the gem. So if you ever have that issue, that's how you handle it. So there you go. So that's all we have to do to put those cards together. Now we have a bit of coloring to do. So I'm going to clean up my other tools here, and I am going to grab some scrap paper to work on. Gives me a cushion and also gives me some area to test my markers if I need to. So I'll go ahead and actually I'll start with the last card we finished first, just because it has the simplest coloring on it. And this one I did entirely with the ice gray tri-blend marker. You are more than welcome to use whatever coloring, whatever markers, colored pencils, whatever you want to use. I did in the instructions tell you what colors I used where, so if you do have the markers, you can figure that out. So I am just consulting that right now. So I kind of like to start with the smallest areas first and work my way up to the big areas. So I'm going to start with the beak, and I'm going to put my glasses on. And I'm using the dark color. And I'm going to color the beak, and I'm going to color the claws. Now with these markers, and a lot of other markers too, if you only had one color gray or two color gray and you wanted more difference, you could probably, color the area, wait till it dries, and then color over it again. These will definitely make the area darker. A lot of other markers might too. So you can try doing that if you need some more shading. The other area we're going to use the darkest color gray is these tail feathers. Is that right? Hold on. Oh, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the medium and then add some areas of dark. So I switch to the medium. I'm going to color in the entire tail feather. And then I'm going to go back to that dark. And I'm going to see how there's some diagonal lines in there. I am coloring every other one with the dark, because owl feathers have variations in color, so we're going to do that. All right. Now we're going to go to the light area, and I'm going to color the head. And when I say the head, I don't mean the face area. So this kind of like rounded heart-shaped area, is what I considered the face, and the background of that is what I considered the head. And in this owl, I'm going to keep the face white, but I am coloring the head in with the lightest color gray. And when I get, especially when I get to a bigger area, I kind of like to color an outline and then fill in that outline. That's how I make sure I kind of get the whole area without, leaving spaces or coloring too far outside the lines. And this one, it's a little challenging around the face here because it's kind of a scalloped almost shape. And then the outside of the head is that is all little dashed lines. And I just kind of did my line in the middle of those lines. And around the bottom here, it's so skinny. By the time I did my two outlines, it pretty much filled in the area. I've got a couple of brush strokes in there. I'm just waiting because this ink tends to even out a little bit. And I'm just seeing as it dries, is it going to even out those brush strokes? But I'm just going to, whoops, add a little more color on there. All right, and the other area I colored with the lightest color ink is the body of this owl. So again, it kind of doesn't have a defined edge of the body here. It's the body is where all these V's are. So I just took my marker and kind of drew a line at the edge of those V's. And then down here, I'm going to see I've made an upside down V over those claws. So follow the line of this from the point of that V up to this point, and then back down to the point of that V. And then I'm going to continue from the point of that V up to the wing. And I know it's very light, but that's what I'm considering the edge of the body. Let me see if you can see it on this one a little better because the whole area is colored in. But because it's not a defined area, you can play around with those edges a little bit. And now I'm just going to trace the outline of that wing and color in that whole area of the body. When I make my strokes here, I'm going from edge to edge, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't leave space between each stroke. I don't want to overlap too much because every time you overlap, you add more shading, but I don't want to leave any white space either. And that's why I do the outline first, because when I'm making my strokes, I'm going to exaggerate here, like this. It's not always easy to hit the beginning and the end, but if I define my area, I can better hit my beginning and my end. And that those lines I drew give you a starting and a stopping point, and help you fully color in that area, if that makes sense. Okay. So then the only other accent we're going to put on, we're going to go back to the dark. And what I did was I accented these lines on his wing. Because if you've ever seen a snowy owl, they have dark accents on their white feathers. So I took my dark color and I'm just basically drawing a line on top of those stamped lines that accent the wings. And if you want them to look shaggy, you can kind of do that and make them look a little shaggier. And then I'm just down here at the bottom, just tracing over that area a little bit. And that's all you got to do to color that guy. And it's very subtle on camera, so hopefully you can see it okay. If you need a little more guidance, there's also the picture in the instructions I sent you. All right, so next we are going to, we'll stick with this guy since we got some practice with him, but we'll give him some color this time. I know it's a little wild color for an owl, but excuse me, I'm just consulting my notes again because it's been a long time since I colored these. So, all right, so I am going to color the beak first, and I use the orange blend. And then Cheryl had pointed out to me that I used the dark or the burnt orange in one of a previous card, so you may have that color. So if you have that color, it's totally, it's a great color actually for the beak. Used it on the birds that upcoming. So I'm working on those kits, so those should be ready soon. But I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I should have done that. So you may already have an orange marker, but I'm using the lightest color of the orange, and if I was using the burnt orange, I'd probably use the lightest color as well to color the beak and the claws. I don't think owls really have orange claws, but they also don't have purple wings, so I'm not really worried about the realism of this guy. All right, so the next color I used was pale pink, and I used the medium color for his face. So this time we are going to color in the face, and I'm going to keep the circle around the eyes white, and I'm going to color the rest of that rounded heart purple. And just like I did on the other guy, I'm going to trace an outline around that shape. And then I'm going to outline the beak and each of the eyes. And by the time you do that, there's not a lot of area to color in, so we're just gonna fill in the rest of that area. And there we go. I didn't really do a lot of shading on these guys because they're kind of cartoony looking anyway. If you were good at shading, go for it. But you'll see where I added some accents. Otherwise, I did really easy coloring. All right, and now on the tail feathers, I'm going to use the darkest color of the pale pink marker. And you might notice on my sample, it looks a little purpley, more purpley than this does. And that's because I originally used a different purple marker. And then that was the only area I used that purple marker on it. I'm like, well, if you guys are going to buy markers, I'm not going to make you feel like you need to buy that color just for these tail feathers. So I thought, make them pink, and that works fine. And then we're done with the pink marker for this guy. I'm next going to use the green turquoise. And I'm going to use the medium for the head. So again, that's the area around the face. I'm just drawing my line basically on top of the center of those little dashed lines and under the ears there. And then I'm going to go around the face. And you can see on the, I'm working kind of on the sides and the bottom here. By the time I add this second line, it's pretty much filling in the area. So now just need to draw the line around the top, and then I have this little area left to fill in. Just going back, making sure some white spots I left are filled in, and that's that. And now I'm going to open the light end, and I'm going to color the body. So again, just like we did on the last one, I'm just kind of tracing the outer edge along the outer edge of those V's. Come down to that bottom V. Let me draw it and then I'll pick it up. Come back up to that middle V point, back down and up. So I come down and follow the edge to bottom point of that V, go up to the bottom point of that center V, down to that center point of that V over the other claw, and then up to the tail feathers. And then I'm going to trace down the edge of the wing. And now I'm going to fill in that area. And now we're going to color his or her wing. And we used lavender for that. And I'm going to color in the whole area with the medium shade. And then just like we did on our snowy owl, I'm going to go back over those accent lines with the darker color. But I'm going to start with the medium, and I'm going to trace my outline. This is a big area here. So when I take my strokes, I'm going to do it kind of each line here, because I know I'm going to go through and accent those stamped lines. So if there's a little stroke mark along them, that's going to be covered up. Like I said, these alcohol markers do a really good job of blending the color together and eliminating those stroke marks. But every once in a while, especially if you go over an area multiple times, it gets darker. So you might notice that. So now I'm going to take my darker marker, and I'm just going to, or the darker shade of the same marker, and draw my lines, my accent lines, and then right down at the bottom. And there we go. Nobody's chatting or asking questions, and I assume that's because you're all working so hard. Hopefully everything's clear. Next, we'll move on to our big guy. I'm going to just pause for a second here in case you have to take a breather. So, like I said, I'm working on those sweet tweets kits. Those will be ready soon, and the Cosette PML cards kits will go out soon too. This week, and then after that, the next class is the Hey Handsome PML cards, which are great for men. I mean, they could be used for either men or women, but they definitely have more of a male spin than some of our other cards. I know it's hard sometimes because we tend to gravitate to, pink and purple owls and flowers and things. So sometimes it's hard to figure out a card that's appropriate for a man. So those are good for that. I'm just checking my calendar because I'm trying to remember um, what deadline I gave you for that. The 14th. If you want to sign up for those, that's the 14th. And those are some new colors too. Those were fun to make. So after that, I don't have samples done, but I'll be doing some sympathy cards, and I've got some other cards in the works. So stay tuned. All right, let's get back to work here. So again, I'm going to start with the beak and the claws with the light orange. I'm going to make a pink stomach here. And I use the lightest color of the pale pink. And what I actually did was color over it twice. That made it a little darker. So I traced my outline and I colored in that whole area once. And now I'm going to go over it a second time. Because the light is so very pale. And this just gives it a little extra color. Next, I will do the body, the face and the body with lavender. So this is a big area to color in. So I didn't color in that white circle around the eyes, but everything else is colored in. So I'm going to do my outline around the beak and around those eyes. And around the stomach. And when I colored in the stomach, I went on the inside of these kind of curly cues. So now when I draw my line in purple, I'm basically coloring it over the curly cues. Looks like an old-fashioned phone cord. And then outline the whole body here, sort of an oval. Pill shaped, really, I guess. Capsule shaped. And now I'm going to go, even though it's the same color, I'm kind of going to draw an outline around the face here, which doesn't have any of the markings in it. And I'm going to go ahead and color that in first. And the reason I did that was just to make the area I'm coloring in, just to section it off a little bit. So it doesn't seem like such a large area. And I can go up and color the head. And now I can go and do the rest of the body. Sometimes these large areas seem intimidating, at least to me. Smaller areas seem so much easier. Even if you have a whole bunch of smaller areas, it seems easier to color than a big area. So if you can find a way like that to section it off, for me, that feels less intimidating. And part of that is because of, like I've already talked about, those brush marks. You know, you don't want to leave those brush marks. And so if you can color in a smaller area at a time, it's sometimes easier to do that. All right. I'm going to do the tail next. And I'm going to alternate colors. I'm going to use, for the whole thing, I'm going to use the ice blue, but I'm going to change. I wanted to not make the whole area the same color. So I know you can't really see it all that well on the camera, but I did do each a different shade. So on the left area, we're going to use the medium. And this is another one where I originally used a different marker color, and then I tried to reduce the number of marker colors that were required for the class. So, or not required, but used. And if you notice, I didn't do my outline because I was thinking, oh, they're just little sections, but I'm kind of regretting that now. So I went back and put that in. So that's the medium. And if you want to add even more shading, you can add some dark areas to that, or you can just go back over with your medium. And I'm like skipping 2 and then doing the third one. And because I'm doing another layer of color, there's just a little extra shading in there. And then I'm also the next section over, which is what I call the middle left. I'm going to use the medium again. So this time I am going to put my lines in. And again, since I did it in the first section, I'm just going to pick a few sections to add another layer of color in. I'm going back and darkening some in that first section even a little more. So you can see that in addition to the 3 different shades of the marker, you also have more flexibility depending on how many layers of each you add. All right, so now I'm going to go to, my dark shade. And so the middle right feather, which is the longest one here, I'm going to use the dark shade on. And then you could hopefully see that it is definitely darker, and it's even darker than the 2 or 3 layers of the medium shade. So hard to pick up those differences. They're so subtle. But now I'm going to go through and I'm going to add another layer on some of the feathers, darken them up a little bit. And for the rightmost feather, I am going to use the light color. So if you picked up the stamp set, I'd love to see if you make your owls different colors. These colors were inspired by the paper collection, of course, but I've been thinking, okay, if I didn't have a paper collection, what color would I want to make my owls? So if you have any inspiration, love to see it. And I just colored in some of those darker as well. So you can definitely see it here. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but you can definitely see the shading there. Make them a little more interesting than just one solid color. And if I do mine different colors, I'll let you know too. All right, and so now we just have to do the wings. And the wings I did with green turquoise, and I did it with the darkest shade. I'm doing this area above the branch first. I'm trying, even though they're longer strokes, I'm kind of taking vertical strokes because that's how it looks. The wings, kind of have these vertical accents. And after I fill in the area, I am tracing over those stamped lines with the marker again as an accent to just darken the lines. And now I'm just going to fill in these wings that are under the branch. And again, I'm just darkening the areas, the lines, tracing over those lines. And now I'm going to turn him upside down to do the other wing. Whoops. See, I saw that small area and I went, ooh, fill it in. now I am coloring over those lines again. And maybe adding a few more here and there. I think it needs a few seconds to dry, and then after it has dried, if you color over them again, then they're more likely to stay darker, more pronounced, than blend in. Because if it's still drying, you put another layer on, it kind of blends a little more. So be aware of if you're not getting enough of a difference in color, it could be because it's not completely dry. And if you just wait a few seconds till it dries, add again, or just add in another layer. And there you go. And the color does lighten slightly, just like our ink colors. The color does lighten a little bit as it dries. So you'll notice, I mean, it could be by coloring, but you'll notice this guy's a little lighter than this guy because it's just dried. All right. So now we'll do our two little owls. Kind of looking sideways. And I did these opposite of each other. So I did the purple body with the teal wings, and then the teal body with the purple wings. So let's color the purple one first. Well, actually what I'll do is color the beak and the claws with the orange, the light orange, on both of them first. And just remember, whoops, remember, don't touch down your marker where you don't want it. When you use alcohol inks or watercolors, any ink that's what is the word I'm looking for? Might cause your ink to bleed. You want to use the intense black ink pad. And you want to make sure that ink, when you stamp, and you want to make sure that ink dries completely before you color over it. Because if it's not, even though it's not, even though it's not supposed to bleed, it will bleed if it hasn't dried completely yet. And I just accidentally made that orange mark on this guy's face, so I just colored over it with my white gel pen to cover it up. Remember that trick: if we go out of any of the areas, out of the lines, that'll cover it up a little bit. Okay, so I said I was going to do purple first. So I am going to do, sorry, I got to refer to my notes again. I am going to do the face with the light. Which I was pretty sure about. I just wanted to confirm. So again, we're going to go around the beak and the eyes. Looks pretty funny with just this coloring. and around the outline of the face. And then fill it in. And I'm interested to see what happens because this is the one I used my white gel pen over the orange, and it did kind of resist the marker a little bit, but it's better than having that orange dot, I think. All right, so now I'm going to do the body, and I'm going to do the body in medium. I kind of sectioned off that area. Do this area. Oops, I forgot to outline around the face. Sometimes you get so excited to start the fill in, you forget the details. Okay. And now, just like we did on that other guy, I know I'm going to do some accents over these stamped curly Q lines on the owl's tummy. So I decided just to fill in the area by going from one line to the next. And then we're going to use our green turquoise again. And we're going to use the lightest color for the wings. We got our first batch of baby geese this morning. Got 6 of them. They're so cute. All right, and now I'm going to go over those curly Q accents on the stomach, and I'm going to use the darkest shade of the green turquoise pen. So I'm just tracing that line. Obviously, this guy has some curly feathers. And that's all we got to do for that. Now we're going to do the opposite colors on this guy. So we're going to use the green turquoise, and we're going to start with the lightest shade on the face. And now we're going to use the medium shade for the body. Now we're going to go back to our lavender marker, and we're going to use the lightest color on the wings. And now I'm going to use the darkest shade on those curly Q lines. Whoops. All right, and I have a little bit of a white spot. Whoops. Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I knocked my camera. The adhesive I have on it has dried out, and I knocked the cord with my marker. Sorry, I didn't make. Hopefully you weren't watching and you didn't get to see it. What I was trying to do was I had a couple white spots on the body here that I was trying to fill in, but that was more excitement than we needed, right? All right, and then on this guy, I colored in that white area on his eye a little bit. So I'm just using my white gel pen, whoops, to cover that up. Okay. And sometimes when you make a correction, you overcorrect. All right, so that's it for the coloring. So now we just have to put our owls on. And like I said, I used foam tape. Oh, something I just wanted to point out. You'll notice that the marker does bleed through the paper a little bit, the cardstock. So just make sure if you're ever using the alcohol markers, don't stamp directly on your card front and color because it'll bleed through. Always like this, stamp and color on another piece of paper and layer it onto your card front. Even if you were making a scene and you wanted to, you wanted it to stamp right directly on the card front, don't just make another piece the size of the card front and cover it up, if you catch my drift there. All right, so I covered those guys with foam tape. And I put the one with the purple wings to the right. They pretty much fit in that area, that purple area of the card. So I've just got the top curve there, just slightly overlapping the edge of that shimmer trim. And then he goes next to him. And then the guy on the branch. Using my old scissors again instead of my nice new Teflon coated ones, so my tape is sticking. I just like to put a piece, in the areas, I like to kind of outline the piece and put it in the center. But if there's any, kind of crazy areas where it sticks out a little bit, I want to make sure those are, those have tape on them so that they don't accidentally get bent when you're putting them in or out of the envelope. You'll notice I'm cutting these little skinny pieces that I'm kind of putting over that branch area. It's probably secure enough. I'm just being overly I don't know what's the word I'm using. I'm looking for overly protective. That's not right, but you get what I'm saying, I'm sure. I did on there too. Overly careful, I guess. The worst part about those little pieces is not getting the backing back off of them. And he's a little off center to the, to the right because covering more of the solid background cardstock and leaving that pattern paper to shine. When I moved my camera, I'm just trying to move my mat instead of all the individual pieces. Which means I'm going to shove my mat, of course. A little straighter. All right, this guy. Let me find my other scissors that will cut my tape better. Yeah, that's better. Now they're not sticking. Kind of putting and making sure there's tape under those ears there. And I think these cards can be used for any occasion. Note cards or birthday or thinking of you or get well. So hopefully you'll enjoy sending them, and whoever receives them will enjoy receiving them. Who doesn't enjoy receiving a handmade card, right? I know it's sending cards. A lot of people don't do it anymore, but we obviously all still enjoy it. Our Christmas cards probably stand out all the more now since a lot of people receive only a few. All right, he goes right in the center of that purple area. And that's it. So there's a lot of coloring there, but otherwise they're pretty easy. Hope you enjoyed putting them together. I'll hang out just for another minute or so more, so the video catches up, and if you have any questions. All right, so hopefully I'll see you again in an upcoming class. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And if you get a chance, click the like button on the video. And I guess that's it for now. Have a good night. Thanks.